Welcome to Disaffected. Hold on just one second. I'm having the technical troubles, and I do not know why I'm talking to you as if I was a black woman, but apparently I am. My name is Joshua Slocum, and I am your black lady hostess today. Thank you. It, Girl, it is so hot. Let me just tell you. Now, normally, I guess my hairs did for you, but it is humiditary. It is heat indexicals in Vermont, and them what is that word you call them Canuckistans, them people that lives up in Canada, next door to where I am. Girl, they having wildfires all over the place. Earlier today, I saw a train. You know when it go choo choo, right? And they was just surrounded by fire. And I said, "Run, girl, get your children and run out the room." And they just put that train backwards. So anyway, I'm telling you all this because my voice is a little froggy today. It has the smoke in the air, and they say the air quality is not good for a lady like me. So that is why we are here today. And we got some guests. I'm gonna bring them on in just a second. Let me make sure this phone quiet. Oh, also, I'm wearing my extra special tortoise shell borderline glasses for you with a gold chain, what my sister had made for me, baby. So it's not Gucci anything, but don't tell LaShonda, okay? Because I told her it was Gucci. All right, that's enough of that. Welcome to the Disaffected live stream. It is July 15th, 2026. I am hot as hell, honey. And because I care about you, the viewer, I have turned off all of the cooling devices. So there's no air conditioner. I got a little fan on me. I hope it doesn't make too much noise on the mic because I need something. I turned off the dehumidifier too. It is a swamp up in here. So I'm going to bring on my guest right away. This is Sherry. I call her Sherry Farm Girl because we're not using her last name. She in the witness protection program. Sherry, welcome to Disaffected Live.
Hi, Josh. Thanks again for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, actually, and I'm excited about today's show.
Me too. Is it hot where you are too? And do you have any of these air quality problems?
And it's humid as well. Yes. My face has a shine on it. That sweat. Couldn't get rid of it.
No, you are glowing. Ladies do not sweat. They perspire or they glisten.
I'm glistening. Okay.
Yeah. Glisten. A black woman is speaking. All right. So we are bringing you on because this is going to be a longer form conversation, a continuation of the discussion that we started on the show this past Sunday. And we're going to recap a little bit for the audience who didn't join us on Sunday. Basically, spoiler alert, Sherry is a psychopath mother. Sherry went no contact with her mother, just as I've gone no contact with mine, just as many of my clients have ceased to have a relationship. I'm going to try to get away from using that phrase, going no contact. It's starting to sound brand name, and it's starting to get associations with it. So I'm going to try not to use that so much.
I call it setting up solid boundaries.
Thank you. It's not actually just a lifestyle identity brand name. Right. It actually means something, and it means something serious. So, but first I wanted, and I want to bring you on because I want to see what you think about this, Sherry. I'm always having fraught Twitter interactions. So
me too.
I think you and I are both unhealthily addicted to that place and should stay away.
I definitely am. It's a problem for me. I need to work on that.
So do you guys know that I don't remember if she still works for the Washington Post. Her name is Kathy Young. She's a commentator. I think I think maybe she was born in the Soviet Union and then came over here. She has been a bugbear to me for the 20 years that I've been aware of her existence. She calls herself a liberal, but a moderate. She's actually insane. I mean, she's a hard, far leftist. And she's the kind of disingenuous liberal who pretends to be a capital N, capital L, nice lady, right?
Those are my favorite people.
Yeah. So anyway, let me just show you. She put up this tweet, and I couldn't help myself because I'm kind of a bitch. So she puts up here.
I think I'm a bigger one than you are, Josh.
No, but you're little though. Aren't you like pocket size?
I am a physically small person, but I have a huge personality. I'm a huge warrior.
I know you are.
That's how I
know you
identify.
So Kathy writes, she's always doing this. She's what is the word for this? There's like a character. I think it used to be on Saturday Night Live. Maybe I'm mixing it up with something else, but I have this character type in my head. I think of her as a Mary Margaret. She's that girl in Catholic school who is butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, and she's always showing off about how very, very good she is. Yeah. You know, she's like Mary Ingalls in Little House on the Prairie. Like she was always trying to make herself out to be better and more virtuous than Laura. So Kathy writes, unlike some gender crits, she means gender critical people who don't believe in transition nonsense. Unlike some gender crits, I'm fully for treating trans people as their identified gender, as long as it's based on more than self-ID. Like, what would that be? And does not include situations where anatomy and physiology are relevant. But if you're pregnant, I'm not going to call you a man. Sorry. All right. So she's halfway there. So I put in my snotty comment, you're so virtuous and good.
Yes.
Right.
These people are insufferable.
They are absolutely insufferable. And I am deliberately tweaking. I'm trying to poke Kathy to provoke her. I am doing it on purpose because she's come into my threads before in my Twitter history, unbidden. Like, I didn't invoke her name. I didn't like put the sand in a circle and light the incense and do the spell to bring her in. She just popped in uninvited. You know, she's like, if you're going to speak that way to people, you're going to find it. And the last time she came, I don't even remember. It doesn't even matter. It could be about margarine and she say the same shit.
Yeah.
But she pops into my thread. I don't know, maybe 5-6 months ago. I said something not negative about Donald Trump. And I'm going to unfollow you from this. My followers have to meet a certain level of blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there going,
that's what I do too. And the voice you gave her is exactly the way they sound to me.
So, you know, she pops into my thread and then she retweets it. You know, she does a quote tweet so that she can say in front of everybody that she's unfollowing me. But I think she blocked me too. But obviously she's unblocked me because I can see her again, right? Yeah. And I can interact with her for the tweet. So I just said, "You're so virtuous,
you, Josh."
I know. I don't think she's ready for my jelly. I don't think she's ready for my jelly. So anyway, as far as provocative comments on Twitter goes, this one from me is really mild. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't swear. I didn't call.
That's,
you know.
I think that's the truth, though.
So this. I get a response from some onlooker, and no, I guess he could be a bot. Maybe he isn't a bot. I don't know. I can't tell apart anymore. But if he is a bot, he's the same kind of stupid bot as all the real people. So he got what is it? Let me put it up here. So his username is subprime directive, and that's actually kind of funny. He says, you can try to build bridges with normie libs like Kathy and me, or you can keep lashing out with angry, aggressive snark, much like most toxic activists on the other side. Your choice. Your choice. Oh, you got that? Did you see how nice he was to give me a choice?
So I think that's a girl. Like that sounds like a girl comment to me.
Oh, you think so? But Sherry,
I just assumed it was the girl when I read
it. I mean, honestly, you know, actually, my brother-in-law was. We were talking in the car last night. We were running errands, and he asked me if I thought a particular person, I think a celebrity of some sort, was gay. And he goes, and I'll tell you why, because he does this and this and this. And I said, Lou, I don't have any gaydar anymore. I haven't had gaydar in more than 15 years.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has it because it's broken now.
It is. It is.
Heterosexual men, it seems to me, at least the kind that you run into in online discourse.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of them in the real world too. I mean, I deal with these people as cashiers and contractors and things like that. Said they have the same affectations and effeminate mannerisms that we traditionally associate with homosexual men, to the point where the boundaries are so blurred. I don't even try to guess anymore.
You know where this started? Do you remember
when did it start?
Metro, men going Metro? It was about
metrosexual.
In the early 2000s is when guys started like really getting obsessed about their looks. I think it all that was the beginning of this huge feminization of men, and it's only gone downhill since.
I think you're right. And I remember that was a mid to late 90s trend when we were calling people guys metrosexuals.
Yeah.
But in those days, as I remember it,
they were still men, but
they were still manly. Yeah. What they would do is they were very persnickety about their appearance in a way that only gay men were before.
Yes.
So you can still see it. It's the kind of guys who trim their beard with a sharp line, right? It looks like they might have delineated the line with an eyebrow pencil.
Back then they were bleaching the tops of their hair,
bleaching the tips of their hair, or and now like waxing their eyebrows and stuff. I'm all for good eyebrow grooming because eyebrows groom the face, but you can't, gentlemen, unless you actually have a unibrow, and some do. And I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can only pluck your eyebrows if you have a unibrow. Yeah. And if you do, you have to underpluck. You have to leave a few stray hairs. You can't, if I see your eyebrows looking like Maleficent and each one is a mirror image of the template on the other side, you're a drag queen. Okay. But they didn't have the mannerisms, but now these guys, I mean, I don't even know if I can do a good impression of it. They'll do things like, because strangely, a lot of these straight men are actually more effeminate in their manner than I am, which I find really strange.
I find it repulsive, actually.
Yes, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yes, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, when I was founding the company, I was sort of having a moment, where I was leaning in and I'm like, oh my God, is this a Lamaze class?
I love your voices so much.
I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. Where was I going with this story? Oh, anyway, let's finish the Kathy Young thing, and then we'll get into the serious stuff that I actually invited you for. Sorry, this is the kind of shit you get roped into.
No,
with me,
this
Sherry.
Is great because I need to laugh because we kind of have a somewhat heavy topic today.
We do.
Yeah.
So anyway, so this guy comes in and he tells me that I should try to build bridges with putatively normal liberals like him and Kathy. So, and my answer is nope. Kathy is not a quote normie lib. She is a habitual liar and provoker who pretends that she's not doing what she's doing. I don't respect her, and I want no part of her. I want no part of you either. Understand this. I don't only not respect people like you and Kathy. I consider you dangerous adversaries. We are enemies, not people who can shake hands across the aisle. And why am I such a bitch? Because I'd like to see more people say things like this.
Josh, this is so perfect for today's stream because what you said, you're setting up boundaries, is exactly what I'm starting out with today. Exactly. In fact, the title of my first section is Being Intolerant of Evil. So that's a perfect beginning.
I'm glad. And for those of you who are tuning in, we're going to talk about cutting off contact. Sherry has her personal story. And this is for everybody. I don't want the audience, please don't segment yourself into identity groups. This is for everybody. But I do want to say that Sherry has a message that I particularly would like Christian listeners and audiences to hear, because many modern Christians have, in my view, have been convinced that they are obligated to accept and often facilitate an ongoing abusive relationship or they're breaking the commandment against honoring their father and mother. And now I'm not a Christian, I'm Christian sympathetic and I'm an agnostic, but what I think I know is that I believe this is a serious misinterpretation.
It is. And I'm here to squash that today.
Good. That's so I want, and I'd like everybody to hear that too, because even if you're not a Christian and you don't care what the 10 Commandments say, these are human psychological issues. They are common to all of us. It doesn't matter what denomination or flavor they go under. There's something here for everybody. So I just want to close this up because I thought about this and I said something about it on Substack because I often do that. I'll put up something on the social media portion of Substack, kind of as a rough draft, as a prompt to me for a longer piece that I'm going to write. So what I wrote was, there are times when you should knowingly communicate hostility and contempt. Those times are when an actual adversary or enemy is trying to lull you into a trap. And there's a difference between people we disagree with. There's lots of people I disagree with who are not my adversary and they're not my enemy.
Right.
But there are people who are enemies. I'm sorry, I'm rewriting on the fly. In actual fact, there are people who are our adversaries and enemies. They're not just neutral strangers. They're not just folks that you need to treat with good faith until they show you otherwise. That stuff is for normal stuff and for normal people in a normal world in normal interactions. That approach is not for communists, socialists, or authoritarians. And the part that trips most people up is that this type of enemy and adversary often speaks in a feminine school teacher tone. They sound mild. They don't swear. They don't cuss a lot. They sound like butter wouldn't melt in their mouth.
It's worse.
Yep.
It's evil. It's worse to me than someone being.
It is worse because it's not only an aggression, but it's an aggression disguised by a lie.
Yes.
Right. Too many people want to be nice people. I believe in our modern world. I think it's a scourge. They respond to that manipulation by falling into a trap. And they respond to it by coming back in a mild and friendly tone. It is content of thought and speech, not the form, is what we should be paying most attention to. So I advise people know the difference between a normal person that you just disagree with, even if you disagree really strongly with them. That's that's just a normal person. That's not the same thing as your enemy or your adversary. There are people out there who are opposed to everything you think is right and good, and there are a lot of them.
Yes.
So that's what I have to say about that. Let's get into your story.
I just want to comment on what you said real quick.
Go ahead.
You perfectly described the Professor Umbridge character in Harry Potter.
That's right. Thank you for pointing that out. Yep.
Yeah. And that is an archetype, and it's so insidious. Those people are insidious.
Yep.
Smiling while they're lying to you is probably one of the most offensive things. I hate it.
It's the contradiction. I talked about it a little bit on the show this past week, and I think in the section before you came on, where it's the ambiguity and contradiction, the things that happen at the same time.
Yes.
It came up for me when I was a child with my mother because, she would go on these angry tirades where she'd be directly screaming at her kids, me or my brother or sister. Mm-hmm. She'd be saying hateful things about us, accusing us of things that we hadn't done or that weren't really sins to begin with, right? They just happened to annoy her.
Yes.
And at the same time, she'd insist that she was doing it for our own good and she was doing it because she loved us.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It makes it really, really hard to take.
Yeah. So
Sherry has been a friend of the show, a viewer and a listener for a while. We have talked to each other offline many, many times. And I want you to hear her story, audience, because she is a Christian. She's about my age, and she had a really screwed up mother too. And what struck me about Sherry's story, she's one of the few people, I've known a lot of people who had mothers like her, but Sherry is one of the few women that I've spoken to who without prompting, came right out and said, no, my mother is not just a borderline. She's also a psychopath.
Yeah.
So you have no compunction about saying that. And it's not something I hear very frequently. So why don't you tell us a little bit of who you are and your backstory?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can say honestly, I have zero good memories of childhood. I have not one single good memory of my mother, not even one. And I know, I've listened to your story and you have some good things to say about your mom. She wasn't a complete, I guess your mom's not a complete psychopath, but, anyway, it's very hurtful. When I talk to my sisters, we both say she should never have had kids. She's a woman who should never have had kids. And yet she had 3 of them. And we've all suffered for it. Fortunately, me being the oldest, I've always looked after my sisters. So both of them are all in good places. And we are all friends and we communicate really well together. And even I would say it was about a decade ago, we had to get together in a room and say to each other, if mom tells you anything about the other one of us, let's get together and talk about it first, because my mom spent our entire lifetimes pitting us against each other. My mom could not stand unity. She was constantly lying about me to my sisters, about my sisters to me. So-and-so said this. My mom's a master manipulator. She's a puppeteer. And her whole hobby is causing drama among people and watching that. She likes to sit back and watch people destroy each other. It's her favorite pastime.
Yep.
So that's what we grew up with. Now I'm trying to think where we left off on Sunday.
Well, we're going to recap a little bit. We have that news clip if you want to. Well, why don't we do that?
Okay.
Unusually, Sherry has some actual motion picture documentation of the early days, like most of us don't have from this generation. But this is a news clip that aired on a local news channel from, I think, the early to mid 70s. And Sherry shows up in it and her mother shows up in it. But let's play it for you to give you an idea of the kind of world that her mother put her into when she was barely out of infancy.
This is Nye Beach, a charming part of Newport's oceanfront. Its older houses make it a desirable place to live and a landlord's paradise.
Many of Nye Beach's older houses and cottages are rental units, but even in the off-season, no vacancy signs are common. The Sandmore Development Company owns 27 cottages in Nye Beach, including these dilapidated 1- and 2-bedroom units. The company recently raised rents 50 to 300%, and now asks $120 a month for a small cottage. These tenants found the increases unreasonable unless the landlord improved the cottages.
Well, basically we're asking for things like fix the roof, which leaks. A lot of the roofs leak. A lot of the plumbing is bad. The toilets don't work. They have to be arranged with bottles and strings and things like that. Those are the basic things.
15 of Sandmore's tenants formed the Nye Beach Tenants Union in February. The landlord signed an agreement to make repairs within 30 days. Just before the deadline, he issued eviction notices to members of the union.
Our position is that we always wanted to make the repairs, but our maintenance people tell us that it's impossible to make the repairs efficiently unless we can vacate the units, to turn off the utilities that are necessary to live there to make the repairs.
Every time someone has moved out, he's moved someone else in right away. So I don't think he's really intending to make any repairs.
Every time I see it, every time I'm just like, how did they allow people to live like this?
Yeah. Well, it is, as we said on the Sunday show, really both parties are wrong here. Obviously, that guy is a slumlord.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But your mother was the blonde on the right hand of the screen, and you were the little child who was sitting next to somebody else. Your mother brought you into, this is quite obviously hippie commune living. Yeah. It's drug taking, hippie commune stuff. And as I understand it, she didn't have to live in this squalor. She had parents who had a safe and sanitary
Yes.
home. She just chose to bring you into this chaotic environment. And all of those people, especially the men, I mean, yeah, it's the landlord's responsibility to make sure you have a running toilet and you don't have a hole in the floor, but not a one of them could have been troubled to actually fix the toilet handle with a little kit instead of putting empty beer bottles in there and just leaving everything around. They didn't take any time to help themselves.
I know it's crazy. Yeah. So my mom is an incredibly selfish person. And the irony is, Josh, is that the constant story she would tell me every day is, I do so much for you. You're a spoiled, rotten little brat. I do everything for you. You don't do anything for me. And this is almost daily to me and my sisters. And she even still says it today. Spoiled, rotten little brats. I do everything for you. You do nothing for me. And the opposite was true. She is a very, very selfish person. And
would she say that even when you guys were really minor kids?
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
What exactly is it that an 8-year-old is supposed to do for mother?
Exactly. But I will tell you, Josh, from a very young age, I was conditioned to, I never wanted to be a burden. So I was very careful about not ever, I walked on eggshells, literally. I never wanted to disturb her. Like I couldn't have anything out of place. I could not be loud, nothing, because I didn't want to disturb her because I was selfish and she was doing everything for me. And it took me many years after adulthood to get over that.
It's similar.
I was absolutely felt responsible for my mother's emotions and feelings. If she was upset, it was my fault. Somehow it was my fault. And even at age 7, 5, 6, 7 and up, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I'm such a horrible kid. Why can I not just make my mother happy?
That's it right there. The fact that children even ask themselves that question, why can't I make my mother happy? The programming's already there. The idea that your job as a child is to, quote, make your mother happy.
Yes.
Right. And that's different. That's not the same thing. If people think they're hearing something normal, you're not. That's not the same thing as I want to be a good kid. I want to please my mom and dad by doing the chores right. I want to show them that I take school seriously and I'm ready to do my homework. I want to achieve things. That's not what that is. That's a very different thing.
Yeah.
And you talked on Sunday about parentification, and I think I remember you saying that by the time you were 7 years old, you were already in a mother role with your then 2-year-old sister.
Yes, that is so right. I became responsible, not fully responsible by the time my other sister came along. I was fully responsible for my other sister, and we'll get into that real quick. But I was 7 and my sister was born when I was 5. And so by the time she was 2, my mom's just like, I'm done with you. Take your sister, you watch your sister, you feed your sister. And if she acts up, and I'm going to tell you, my sister, and we're really good friends today. We're really close. She was a holy terror. And she was like the opposite of me. I'm always trying to please my mom. She always tried to get attention from my mom by being bad.
Okay. Yep.
And that was my responsibility. And I could not control my 2-year-old sister. So I was always in trouble, just always in trouble. And I remember, Josh, by the time I was 7, I had a really deep depression. Well, I should back up a little bit. When I was 5 and she was pregnant, because I think this is about where we left off on Sunday.
Okay,
when she was pregnant, we're living out in this podunk trailer in the middle of nowhere. It was actually 2 trailers and there was nobody around for miles. An old pedophile moved in next door. And my mother let him babysit me. And I know she had to have known. This guy was old and creepy. And I mean, I'm looking back on it and I'm like, how could a mother not know? What kind of mother would? And she left him with me a lot. So of course I was sexually abused.
Yep.
And that was just a whole nother spirit crushing thing that took me a lifetime to get over. And I think maybe I don't want to say this, but I'm going to be honest and say I feel like she did that on purpose.
She may have. I have seen in my work with clients and in just paying attention and taking in case studies and literature and reports from people, as I do, because I'm so interested in family psychology. It is a thing that happens. There are parents out there who do that. There are mothers out there who do that. And one of the things society doesn't want to, there are a lot of things that society does not want to accept about abusive mothers. And I'm using the word mothers specifically and deliberately. I'm not talking about society's attitude to fathers. I'm talking about our attitude to mothers, women. We don't want to accept that mothers can be not only as abusive as dads, but sometimes worse. We don't want to accept that mothers are responsible for, when we see, you see this happen, people call it the parenting wars, but it is not parenting wars, and it's not minding other people's business. It's noticing that there are some parents out there who think that abusive practices are normal parenting, right? And nobody will say anything about it when it's a mother. We'll definitely say it when it's father. Kick him out. He's a pedophile. He needs to go to jail. But when mom comes along and abuses the kids, she has postpartum depression. And she was really traumatized as a little girl, and she didn't know any better. And what can we do to better support moms like that? So maybe if we cook her food for her and bring her a maid service, then she won't feel that she needs to hit her children. Is that what we're saying?
I am so on the same page with you on this, because I am a person who, I will say to you, my mother wakes up every single day and she chooses to be an evil person. It's a choice. There are no reasons for her to, there are no legitimate reasons for her to act the way she does. She chooses it. She gets something from it. She likes it. So I am 100% for holding every woman, every person. It's not just women, but especially women today, because women get such a pass on bad behavior. That every woman, even older children, are responsible for their own behavior, and we cannot be. We have to stop making excuses for it. We have to.
Yeah, agreed. Now you're speaking of your mother's still alive.
She's still
right?
alive.
Right. Although you haven't had, how many years has it been since you've had contact with your mother?
I have completely kicked her out of my life since 2019, and I did see her at my grandmother's funeral 2 years ago.
Sherry, what was that like for you?
So I am, as a Christian, I prayed a lot about it. I was there to honor my grandparents, and my mother is one of these people who likes to bring drama into everything. And actually, some of the family members, we had a plan that if she had if she was going to be dramatic, we had set aside a few men in the family that were just going to quietly take her aside and let her know that that's not acceptable. And so she actually didn't misbehave too badly, but it was very brief. And, I will tell you, my last words to her were this, and this is in 2019, which happened to be at my mother-in-law's funeral. She invited herself to my mother-in-law's funeral. She was not invited. And this is a whole nother story, but my mother's a very morbid person, and she's obsessed with death.
Is she a funeral tourist?
She is.
I've known them. It's you guys, it's real. There are people out there who go to funerals recreationally.
My mother has been to so many funerals that she was not invited to. I don't understand it, but it's part of her psychopathy. There's just a whole bunch of traits that she has that has led me to believe that she's an outright psychopath. That's just one of them. But I did say to her, I walked up to her, I was brave. Finally.
But this was, are you relating a story from 2 years ago or from 20?
I'm relating what I said to her in 2019 when I said I'm done.
Okay.
And what I basically said, I went up to her, and it was a public place and there was a lot of public people around. I gave her a hug and I said, Mom, I love you, but I cannot deal with you anymore. You do not respect our boundaries. I had been setting boundaries for the decade before, and she would just break them. So I just said, you are not respecting our boundaries. And so until you can learn to respect our boundaries, you're not going to be in our life. And I said, you can go to counseling. I've even found her free counseling and she refuses to go. So, like I said, it's her choice.
It's good. Forgive me. I get right back on track. I'm going to interject some because this is fun because there's so much overlap. I like swapping stories.
Yeah.
And by the way, JWink80 in the comments. Thank you. Your comments are giving humor. He's talking about the funeral. It's like, well, they do serve alcohol and pretty good food.
That part.
It's true. Clock it. The thing about funerals, when my mother's sister Mary Ellen died, this is probably 15, 18 years ago now. No, God, I'm sorry, it's much longer than that. I'm old.
We're the same age.
I know. That age is old. It's capital OLD trademark symbol. When her sister Mary Ellen died, my Aunt Mary Ellen was only 43 and she died of colon cancer. And my three cousins, who are the, same age range as me and my brother and sister, were just on the cusp of adulthood. That I think my cousin Kelly was 16 like I was. And my mother came back from the funeral, and this is the first time she told the story, but this story has been told on repeat, encore presentation, for years and years afterwards. And my mother sat down in her chair in the living room and started bawling and then yelling and then bawling about how mean everybody was to her at her sister's funeral. So, Mom, what do you mean?
Yes.
And she said,
the funeral was all about her.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm thinking to myself, this sounds a little strange, but let me play it out. Maybe there's a narrative here that will explain the motivation. What scene is this? What are we doing? And she goes, my brother-in-law Stuart got up there, and when he gave the eulogy, he mentioned everybody in the family but me. It was like I didn't even exist. Right? Now, it's funny now, but it was not funny at all to me. I was probably like 23 years old, and I'm standing in the living room, and I feel that cold sensation, and I'm like, please get me out of the room. I don't know how to react. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yes. 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 Being in the shadow of a malignant drama queen is a hard role to play.
You know what was amazing to me? And tell me if your mother was like this, Sherry. I genuinely, I reflected on that afterwards. I just thought, this is the most bizarre. My mother actually thinks she was socially done wrong. Yes. She thinks that she had a place at this, she thought it was normal that she would be featured like a showcase showdown at her sister's funeral. Like, what about Aunt Mary Ellen's funeral do you believe was about Bonnie Slocum, right?
I have a theory on this.
Because I think my mother actually did believe that she was socially jilted.
I'm sure she did.
Do you think your mother thinks that too?
Oh, my mother, this is a genuine, honest assessment, and I'm not sure if I can describe it accurately, but I think you'll pick up on it. The main character syndrome. I truly think my mom thinks she is the center of the universe and everybody around her is her supporting cast, and they're not people. She doesn't see anyone else as human. Everything is about her needs, her emotions at that moment. And so, of course, if anything is out of the way she wants it to be, that's a personal assault on her.
That was beautifully put, and it illustrates the very core of narcissistic pathology. Everybody pay attention to this. Strip away sadism, strip away indifference, strip away the desires that some of these people have to actively hurt. Leave all those things aside and just look at the baseline condition. the baseline condition of somebody like Sherry's mother, my mother, your father, many other people we've talked about, that's what narcissism is. It's a profound solipsism, like philosophical solipsism. It is, no, not in a sense. I think literally, it is to believe that only you have subjective consciousness, that only you are a fully instantiated person, that everyone around you isn't actually real. They don't have the, it's a lack of theory of mind for other people.
Yes. Yeah, it's hard to describe this to people because most of us, normal human beings, see that there are other human beings that are a full person with their own needs, their own emotions, but that's not the case. Like all of us children, we were just extensions. We were there to serve her, there to placate her. Like we did not have, I'll just show you, I'll just share a really quick story to encapsulate this. When my husband and I had a 10-year anniversary where we just we invited family members to come and celebrate with us. We did some fun things. We just wanted to get family together. That's how we wanted to celebrate 10 years of marriage. And we had gifts to give and all kinds of stuff. And we had this short little quiz that you got a prize for that was, how well do you know Andy and Sherry? And my mother got a 0 on this quiz, a 0. These were really? Just really simple, really, truly. This was an epiphany moment for me about how I couldn't, but I mean, I'm still affected by it today that she couldn't answer my favorite color. Just simple things that everyone knew. People who did not even know us that well, people could answer these questions. If you just knew about us and you saw us 2 or 3 times a year, you could answer any of these questions. My mother could answer 0. It was embarrassing. It was humiliating to me at the time. And it was really eye-opening.
That's a perfect illustration. That was just the right story. Let's bounce off this comment here, because this is a good, I like this. Bleached paper towels. Thank you for putting this up. Says it's not a lack of understanding that other people exist. It's a rejection of that truth.
Is it
that's worth considering. Yeah. And I wonder if it's different for different kinds of people like this. Because I do think that a lot of the core of narcissism is simply not accepting or understanding that other people exist. But I think Bleached Paper Towels is saying they do know. They just decide that doesn't matter. Either one of those is terrible. It's an unbridgeable problem that makes relationship impossible. But that's interesting to chew on. Do they actually understand that and just simply say, yeah, I know that Sherry is real and has feelings, but I don't care?
Yeah.
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
I'd have to really think on that one. That's a new thought to digest. So thank you for that.
And I think however a person falls down on that question, whatever you decide the answer is, it's going to be unpleasant either way it goes.
Yeah, regardless. Yeah.
But if you can, and I'm speaking specifically to people who are dealing with this in their own family or have dealt with it, but have some lingering emotional difficulty with it, as you will, is normal. My therapist, it took a long time. It takes time to get here. So I can tell you things. Sherry can tell you things. Your therapist can tell you things, but that doesn't mean that you can internalize them. Yeah. Sometimes it just takes time. I could finally internalize it when my therapist said, it will begin to hurt you less when you finally fully accept that. And that, well, we were talking about, I was wrestling with the question of whether my mother ever loved me.
Yes, right? This is the crux.
Right. The answer to that is no, by the way.
Correct.
But here's why. And I get it now, and I'm settled with it now. But when we first had this conversation,
devastating.
It was really, really difficult.
Yeah.
My therapist said I asked him straight out after several years. I said, "Did my mother ever love me? How can I know?" And he said, No, because she's not capable of loving you, and she was never capable of loving you.
Yep.
Said, and it will hurt less when you're able to internalize that. And he wasn't saying that in a way to suggest that she had a disability that I needed to feel sorry for. That none of those implications are there. This is not a disability that you need to feel sorry for. It's just a recognition that when we say the term personality disorder, that's what it means. There are whole portions of a normal human personality that don't exist in Sherry's mother, in my mother, in your mother or your dad. They're simply not there. They're not the same kind of person that we are in that way. What do you think about that, Sherry?
I have a lot of thoughts about that. And I remember the very day that I came to that conclusion. And it was the day that I found out the sex of my child when I was pregnant. I'll tell you, getting pregnant for me 15 years ago changed my whole life, because I loved that baby so much the second I knew. And that's when I realized my mom had no love for me, because I just thought back. I'm like, I haven't even met this human yet, and I'm already willing to die for this human. And then when my daughter came, I just loved her. Like, the love was so overwhelming. And then I mourned for the love that I didn't get, but I also mourned for the love that my mom was not willing to give.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's, that reminds me of, I wrote an essay about this a couple of years ago. I'd be interested to know if you've thought this and felt this way or differently. It took a long time to realize part of what I had grief about. Because there's the easy stuff to see. I had grief about the fact that I didn't have a mother, and then I grieved the fact that excuse me. Then I grieved the fact that I never did have a mother the way I thought I did.
Yeah.
So I was grieving the person, and then I was grieving the fantasy that I didn't know was a fantasy.
Yes.
But the really hard part that came afterward was understanding that so much of my sadness was because I did love my mother, and I wanted to love her so much, and I wanted to give her love, and she would never take it. It hurt me that I couldn't give her love. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, because
I had never thought about that before, and I'm not sure I completely understand it, but that was the saddest part.
Yes, it's sad, and I'm sad for my mother, but I finally reconciled the fact that the chance that she's going to change is less than 1%. I had to understand that her psychology is such that I never give up 100% hope. I always leave like maybe 1%, and I leave that to God. And he has done miracles. I have seen that. And that's the only way that people like your mother and my mother, Josh, are ever going to change. Otherwise, if they stay the way they are, and they get worse with age. I'd like to say they get worse with age. I was a very loving child. I think probably because I was constantly searching for love, constantly, because I didn't have it, always looking for it. And I'm kind of the opposite of my mom, like polar opposite. And that's a miracle in and of itself. I had a choice of being like her or being the opposite of her. And if I could ever give her any credit for anything, it's that she showed me exactly how not to live and what not to do in life.
This gives us a way to get into a way of viewing this religiously and through a Christian lens, the way you do. One of the most frequent kinds of pushback that I get when I make statements in essays or on social media or in shows, saying to people that if you have a fully personality disordered loved one, that they're not capable of loving you in the way that you understand the word love. It's just not the same thing. And they're not going to change. You know me, I don't like doing the not alls all the time, but like you, I do reserve a small percentage of, stranger things have happened,
Yeah.
right? But I don't go around highlighting that all the time, because in culture, we default already so heavily to, he's your dad. He's the only dad you're ever going to get. She's your mom. She's
Yes,
the only
I
mom
hate
you're ever going to get. We're so primed for that I'm not going to highlight the 1%, because that just gives them an excuse to cover
Yes.
over the
Yes.
fact that for almost all of us, these people are never going to change.
That's
And
so.
the belief that they're going to change is what keeps people trapped in abusive relationships.
That's
So
right.
I
We
won't
have to
indulge
face
that.
reality.
But these Christians who push back and say, they're not bad people. I'm not criticizing them for being Christians, or I think they're wrong. I just think they're mistaken. They don't understand.
Yes.
But they always say, God can change anyone's heart. And I've seen miracles worked, and I've seen people give up drugs, and I've seen. Well, we've all seen that. We've all seen this
Yes.
happen in somebody we know or somebody we've observed. But that Christian pushback,
It's not helpful.
it's not helpful. And I think underneath that, they don't actually believe people like you and people like me. They haven't actually accepted the exist. Here's what I think it is, Sherry. They say they believe in the concept of good and evil, but in actual fact, they don't believe there are evil humans. I think they don't believe it.
Josh, I got so much to say on this. It's hard to know where to start, but
Please just start right out. Take it and run with it.
All right.
And again, let me prime everybody again. Sherry's going to talk from a Christian lens here.
Mm-hmm.
This applies whether you're Christian or not. These are human psychological concepts. And a lot of our cultural attitudes about love and family and stuff are Christian derived.
Yes,
so if you are not a practicing Christian yourself, you are still in many ways a cultural Christian. And this will help explain to you why we do what we do and why we think what we do. So please be willing to hear it, even if you're not religious. Thank you. Go, Sherry.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. What I want to say is that you don't have to be a Christian to understand that God loves you. You are a unique person. Every person listening and watching, and you yourself, Josh, you bear the image of God. And God does not expect us to stay in abuse. And if I can, I wrote this down because I do, if people are interested, and if you are willing to share these notes, I spent a lot of time cross-referencing Bible verses just to back it up. But I think Christianity gets a lot of this wrong. And it is part of our culture, because the people who, let's just back up a little bit. The people, I spent years, Josh, in torment over this, years in torment. And it's two Bible verses, really. It's the, in Exodus, when the 10 commandments come out, and God says the 5th commandment, honor your parents. I struggled with that. So I went out of my way to search out pastors to talk to them about this, because I always said, but what if your parent is evil? But what if that? Then what? And nobody ever had an answer for me. So I spent the last 20 years of my life trying to figure this out on my own. And I have an answer for it. I've prayed and I've been humble about it to the Lord. And this is what he shared with me. And if it's okay with you, I wrote it down. If it's okay with your readers, I would like to read it, because okay. We live in a day when the church has been infected with a foul spirit of compromise called tolerance. Like the left, they wave it like a banner of humility. But I'm going to be honest and say, this is nothing less than treason against our holy God. The Christian who claims the name of Christ must be intolerant of evil in all its forms. Not intolerant of sinners, because all of us are sinners, but intolerant of the sin that destroys image bearers, the sin that defiles the church and blasphemes the name of God. When I say image bearer, that means all of us. We live in a world that is actively trying to destroy our connection to God. In Psalms 97:10, it says, "O you who love the Lord, hate evil. It does not say tolerate evil with a smile. It says to hate it. We are called to hate evil. Christians are called to hate evil. This is what Christians do not want to talk about today. Proverbs 8:13 says, the fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Pride and arrogance and the way of evil and perverted speech I hate. If you fear God, you will hate what he hates. You cannot claim to love holiness while making peace with wickedness. The Apostle Paul in Ephesians 5:11 says, take no part in the unfruitful work of darkness, but instead expose them. Exposure is not tolerance. Exposure is confrontation. And Josh, that's what you've been doing for the last 5 years of your podcast. You are exposing this evil. You are actually doing God's work. And we're called to do that. And we've been neutered. Christianity in the last 50 years has really been neutered. Romans 12:19 commands us, abhor what is evil and hold fast to what is good. There's a Greek word called apostagio, and it means to abhor. It means hate vehemently and recoil with disgust. And that's the way I feel about narcissists and cluster B people. They really disgust me to my core. This is not optional for the believer. It's a mark of genuine faith. In John 2:15, we see Jesus Christ himself being intolerant of evil in the temple. He made a whip of cords and drove out the money changers. In Matthew 23, he looked at the Pharisees in the eye and called them a brood of viper, whitewashed tombs, and sons of hell. Jesus was a fiery guy, and we forget that. He did not seek dialogue with wickedness. He exposed and condemned. Over and over again, he says, what sorrow awaits you for the evil what sorrow awaits you for the evil you have done? And he's talking to the leaders of the time. He's talking to the Pharisees and the Sadducees because they were doing things they were taking God's name in vain.
Wait, can I just ask a slightly irreverent question? I don't mean it to be irreverent,
go for it.
But well, I kind of do a little bit. I didn't get the consonants. The Pharisees and the what?
Sadducees.
Okay. Do you want to know what I heard?
What? Okay, go ahead.
The Pharisees. I was like, that's me. Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
That is funny, Josh. Okay, it's short. It doesn't go on too much longer.
No, please. This is good.
Okay, thank you. We must be intolerant of evil because evil is not neutral. Evil is treason against the Creator. When we tolerate it in the church, we invite judgment. When we tolerate it in our homes, we endanger our children. When we tolerate it in culture, we become lukewarm, which is detestable to God. He mentions this in Revelations 3:15. We become salt that has lost its flavor, and we are light hidden under a basket. James 4:4 is blunt. You adulterous people, do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? You cannot hold hands with evil and walk with a holy God. So when I'm talking about evil, I'm specifically talking about cluster B narcissism. And as you mentioned many times, Josh, it is a character flaw. It's a character issue. And I like to point out every time I talk about cluster Bs with people, it's a choice. It's a daily choice. Second, and I'll just continue on. It's just a couple more paragraphs. 2 Corinthians 6:14 through 17 leaves no room for ambiguity. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers, for what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? And what fellowship has light with darkness? Therefore, go out from their midst and be separate from them. The Lord says, and touch no unclean thing. And here is where the no contact part comes in. Separation from somebody who is abusing you is not hatred. It's love. It's love for God and love for your neighbor done correctly. We warn because we love. We confront because we love. We refuse to celebrate or normalize what God calls abomination because we love. What the world calls intolerance, the word of God calls obedience. When we read our Bible correctly, it does not produce spineless Christianity. It produces men and women who love what God loves and hates what God hates. Christians need to stop apologizing for holiness. We need to stop cowering at the word bigot. We must hate evil, expose evil, and flee evil. Parental abuse is a uniquely dark and satanic evil that leaves lifelong scars. Children are not called to be martyrs to their parents' narcissism. Proclaim the gospel that alone can deliver men from evil.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
Really good. I should have taken a couple of notes. Let's get right to, there's a good comment here that I'd like to see you react to.
Okay.
And then there are some things I'd like to try to tease out of that. So I'm going to put it on the screen. This is from Finboy Slick. And he says, wait, Sherry, it's a choice to be cluster B or it's a choice not to associate with them. And the next comment is, because I think we already established that they pretty much can't change. So what's your response?
Both. It's a choice to be cluster B, but let me explain it this way. Because I believe cluster B starts with victimhood. When you see yourself as a victim of everything, you give yourself permission to behave in the most god-awful ways possible. If you're the victim and the whole world is against you, then you are free to fight back however you see fit. And that victimhood is usually a lie, okay? So if you think back to my mother when she was really young, she actually was a victim of my father's abuse, okay? That is true. However, she had never changed from that day forward in believing that she was not a victim. It was always that she was a victim in the welfare system. She's a victim because she is a single mom. Yes. She's a victim because she doesn't make enough money. My mother hates rich people. She hates anybody who is successful. I mean,
your mother's a Democrat.
Yeah, yes. I mean, she's worse than she's a communist.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But when you think this way, you rewire your brain, okay? I need people to understand.
Yes, you do.
When you are constantly feeding lies and negativity into your brain, you're rewiring your brain. So it becomes easier and easier to see that until you become blind to the truth. Okay. And it is a choice. And the thing is so many people in my mom's life loved her. So many people have told her the truth. They've told her how to change things and she refused. So this is why I say cluster B is a choice. Now, maybe you can say you get so far down the path that it becomes excruciatingly difficult to change and rewire your brain. But that doesn't mean it can't be undone. The person that I recommended to my mother for help was this wonderful man. And Josh, I might share his website with you. He's passed on now, but he left behind a body of work that walked people through he's talking to cluster Bs. He was a therapist to cluster Bs, and he was gently walking them through how to challenge their beliefs and how to change. And it's completely free. And I offer this to anybody I know who is struggling with this because it's a wonderful body of work. That is a choice. Seeking help is a choice.
Who is this man and what is his website?
Okay, it's selfhelp.org, and I can't remember his name.
Okay, selfhelp.org. That's enough to get everybody going.
Okay, yeah.
You know what? Let's hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. And yes, we are taking a break because Josh has to go to the bathroom. That's the way it is. But I'm just going to put up a little timer on the screen. You guys go out to the lobby and get yourselves a snack. And we'll be right back and then we'll pick it up on the other side. Thank you, everybody. All right, we are back. Thank you for your patience. A couple of things. First off, I know you probably are not seeing the comments. I'm trying to keep an eye on a couple different platforms here. Book Nerd says, "Tell Sherry she is such a breath of fresh air." Another one said you were gladiatorial in that. They liked it. And a couple of people have said they want a hard copy of what you wrote. So let me ask you to consider this. I'd love to publish what you wrote as an essay or as part of an essay from you on our Substack as a guest post. So if you would like to do that, let me know and we'll get that up there. And then I'll put it outside the paywall.
Great.
That would be great.
Absolutely.
So you were talking about it. We're not going to settle the question whether people can choose their way out of cluster B. I go back and forth on this a lot. I mean, I do tell people, because observation confirms this. I mean, if you just observe objectively and you see the patterns that are really there in the world, you see that vanishingly few people who fall into the full personality disorder category ever come out and become more normal people. Now, there's pushback on my point of view that I would be remiss if I didn't point out. And my therapist does some of that pushback too. He would say that I am too doctrinaire about particularly borderline personality disorder. He thinks that I go too far and that I don't recognize that there is a capacity for change, particularly with borderlines. Why am I saying this with borderlines? Because of the cluster B disorders, and there is actually controversy over whether, well, there's controversy over a lot of things, but there is a question about whether borderline personality disorder, the emotional instability, the abandonment fears, the suicidality, the frantic efforts to stop people from leaving you, whether this actually belongs in cluster B or whether it is better thought of as a more purely trauma-based disorder. And there is heated disagreement about this. We can't solve that today during this conversation. But
may I add one thing to this?
Please do. Yeah.
So, because I've spent thousands of hours mulling over this myself and years, I have legitimately more trauma than my mother ever went through because of her. Okay. So why is it? What's the difference between her and me as far as the outcomes of her life and my life? Okay. So it's a choice, and this is why, and I know people are going to disagree with me, and that's okay, because I'm willing to have these conversations. But I've spent, well, I'm a little older than 50 now. I have spent my whole entire life parsing this out, and I don't have just one cluster B in my life. I have several. My father is also one, and we won't go into that story. But why is it that I can see that other people are full human beings? Why is it that I can love my husband and not abuse him publicly like my mother abuses her husband publicly? Why is it that I can talk to my child like they're a human being who has full emotions, and I can respect her personhood? You know, it's I'm no different. I was raised well worse than my mother was raised. So that's just another I guess thing I want to throw into the ring in this conversation.
Yeah.
Trauma doesn't mean you're going to end up a cluster B.
No, it doesn't. And psychiatrist Hannah Spear talks about this a lot lately. If you're not paying attention to her, I suggest you do. She is an actual psychiatrist, not just a therapist. She's a trained medical doctor with a specialty in psychiatry. And she used to I think she would say she used to try to treat borderlines. She now believes that this is an untreatable condition. And like one of our commenters, Glider Adjacent, has said, it's genetic. Yeah. Hannah Spear talks a lot about this, and she says the trauma explanation for borderline is both insufficient and, she believes, overdone and overused. And she says, you know, there's a lot of genetic influence on this, and this is a fulsome conversation with a lot of gray areas.
Yes, and I will say, I have a different idea. I have a different opinion about it being genetic.
Okay.
I think it's spiritual. And we live in a culture that never addresses the spirit. We are spiritual people, and we never talk about our spiritual. We talk about our mind, we talk about our body, but we don't talk about our spirit. And I've been studying extensively epigenetics, and I truly believe. So when people say generational, I understand what they're saying. Because you're grown up in this behavior, it's all you see, and you take on that behavior. But that doesn't set who you are, and I do not think it's encoded in our DNA. Okay, that's just my opinion. I am willing to have conversations with it. I truly believe that this type of evil is spiritual.
It's often unclear whether when these conversations happen and disagreements happen, it's often unclear whether we are actually disagreeing on content or whether we're disagreeing on taxonomy and definitions. Yeah. Right. True. So these are hard conversations to have, because I too think I have taken to calling this a moral and spiritual problem as well. And I'm not really satisfied with how I present that or how I think about it, because I'm still in this atheist, agnostic, but very Christian sympathetic. And all I can say is, and I can't demonstrate it for you, anybody. I can't give you the studies. It's a feeling, and I guess I'm doing I feel, you know how I hate that. But nevertheless, I do feel compelled to talk about this, and I feel compelled to I do think there's good. I do think there's evil. I do think there are mistakes. I do think good people can go bad. But I think that there are bad people in the world. I think there is evil in the world. And I think there are choices that are inherently good and inherently bad. Not everything falls into the black and white category, right, but many things do.
Right.
And it so happens that what strikes me as bad and evil happens to line up with what Christianity calls bad and evil, and lines up with the satanic. When you think about, let me go back to something you said.
Okay.
Sherry, you were talking about the idea that Jesus was a fiery guy.
Yes.
And that God calls us to abhor evil, to hate evil. Now, this is an entirely different message than what we're getting from some of the most prominent, well-known Christian speakers. And it is very different from what we've heard from Christianity since at least the 1960s. And when I say Christianity, I mean both mainline Protestant denominations, Catholicism.
Yes.
Both. You know, it looks to me as an outside. I mean, I was baptized as a Presbyterian. I did get some religious instruction from my grandmother. So in a sense, I am kind of a Christian, even if I'm not. I can't say that I know and I believe fully, right?
You got the Christian stink on you.
But I do, I mean, I do come from that line, you know. And I think that at least since, with Catholicism, I mean, I think a lot of the not fundamentalist, Protestant denominations started going really far off the moral track a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so now we're beset with Unitarians, Congregationalists, other non-denominational, non-affiliated, charismatic Christian Protestant gatherings. I don't even know if you call them congregations, that are sort of Christian light. They're, Jesus was a nice, peaceable hippie who just loved everybody. Somehow that has become the dominant face of it. And I'm sorry to say, because I'm particularly drawn and sympathetic to Catholicism, I think Vatican II was the worst thing that ever happened to the Catholic Church. I think it's horrendous. And in fact, if you will forgive me, Catholics, I know that I do not have the cred to say this, so forgive me, but Vatican II looks heretical to me.
Yes.
So-
let me put it to you this way.
Please jump in. You're the real Christian. I'm not.
This is something that I like to say to people because, first of all, Christianity has started conflating love with tolerance. Okay, they're not the same thing at all. And also, Christianity is not a religion. It's a relationship, and we forget this. I mean, there's just too many Christians out there who are cultural Christians. There are people who are born into a Christian family who think they're Christians. You can be born into a family. You can be 6 generations into a Christian family. That doesn't make you a Christian. Okay, it doesn't. Being born in a Christian country does not make you a Christian. It is a personal, individual relationship with the Lord, and we seek him through his word, the Bible. And that's a whole nother fun thing to explore. And not completely uneducated in this. I did go to a Christian university. I married a theologian, and I've loved the Lord with all my heart since I was really 13 years old is when I really started. I was so broken and so hurting and so looking for direction in my life. I got out a Bible at 13 and I just started reading it. So,
Sherry, what is your affiliation? What brand of Christian? I'm sorry, I don't mean.
I know what brand.
I'm sorry. That's a flippant way to say it. What kind of Christianity?
So I don't. At this point in my life, and my husband agrees, we don't subscribe to, like, you've got the Wesleyan branch, you've got the Calvinist branch, and I don't want to go into all that because that's very confusing to people. What I like to focus on personally, and if I'm ever interacting with someone who's not a Christian and they're curious, I'm a gospel believing Christian. So that is the words that Jesus spoke when he was walking the earth. His words are what I go by. There's all kinds of other stuff that, and it's just the heart of man. Man likes to embellish things. Man likes to put things in his own order. I just always defer to the Gospels. I grew up a little bit in Calvinism. I married into a Wesleyan family. That's 2 different branches right there. I have Catholic relatives. So, I've seen the whole gamut of it. And I don't have any criticisms. I don't have specific criticisms towards any denomination because I believe there are real Christians in all of these. There's a story in the Bible that talks about the body of Jesus, and it's an analogy for the body, the church on earth. So, you have the head, you have the heart, you have the hands. These are different aspects of how the church functions in this world, and it's to reach different types of people. So, Catholicism speaks to a certain type of person. Protestantism speaks to a certain type of person. I believe you can really know Jesus through any of these. So this is why I don't get mired down in any of those things.
Makes sense. That makes sense. I've got to put this up.
Boyfriend Jesus.
There are 2 things that are hilarious about this. OJ Pimpson is fucking hysterical. First of all, thank you for being alive in the world and being that clever. But also, the commentator Andrew Wilson calls it boyfriend Jesus.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get into that guy, but I'm not a fan. I'll just say that much.
Okay. I understand the concept of boyfriend Jesus, though.
Right.
It's I want to highlight a couple more comments too, because that's one of the nice things about this live stream is that we get to interact directly with the people, and I love that you guys are so interested every week in what we're talking about. Book Nerd says, and it's on YouTube, so I can't actually get it up here, so I'll read it to you. I'm going to read a couple things from Book Nerd, who disagree, may have some disagreements. Book Nerd says individuals have the ability to know themselves in adulthood and correct the fallout from bad parenting. Lots of us have done it. Poor parenting does not pre-program you for borderline personality disorder. also says they don't choose to become borderline. They choose to nurse their wounds over and over. They choose to use their victim role to overpower others. By choosing to embrace their poison thoughts and behave badly, they disorder their own characters.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Okay.
I think there's some that's really good insight, and I have no disagreements there. But what I want to say, just from my own experience with I've got several borderlines in more than 5, okay, in my circle. And what I notice is they enjoy their victimhood. They enjoy hurting other people. I see the sadism in it. Yes. So I will just say this, and this is my opinion, and it's just my opinion. I will never say that they are victims. I will always say they have a choice. I don't believe that there's no way out for them. I'm just going to put it that way. They don't choose the way out.
This is so interesting. It's so interesting and insoluble, because it reminds me of another conversation with my therapist. I brought this up many times, but this haunts me. I'm like a dog with a bone over this. You know, I said to him one day, what's the difference between my mother and me? Because I have so much of my mother, good and bad.
Me too.
And my mother, I'm no example for. My own character flaws bother me, and I try to work on them. And I'm mostly disappointed in myself. Sometimes I feel good about it, but I'm mostly disappointed because I have not vanquished them enough to feel satisfied about that. So that's kind of just my baseline orientation. But I do think about the parts of my mother that I have in me, the irritability, the quickness to temper, my tendency. I'm very defensive at a baseline. You know, like I'm very well protected. I put up a hard shell. And when I feel that I'm being attacked, my reflex is to attack back and harder.
That's mine too, Josh.
I have not tamed it. I mean, I think in some cases it's better than it used to be, but I still haven't tamed it enough to satisfy myself. So those are the things that disappoint me. But I think about the fact that I don't have any evidence that a person like my mother, and it sounds like your mother too, has ever had that kind of conversation with themselves. And if they do, they certainly haven't spoken about it, or they haven't done anything to indicate that they've really reflected and said, this is a really shitty part of me, and I want to do something different with it. So I asked my therapist, what is the difference? I'm so similar to my mother in so many ways, but I didn't completely become her.
I know the difference. I can see the difference.
Well, I'm not sure that I do. But this is just an ongoing topic around this community, if you will. No. He said. So I asked him, what does a person have to have in order to make significant progress past childhood developmental trauma and the shit that it leaves you with and the shit that you dish out to other people? And he said, you have to be able to tolerate and accept that well, he didn't even say almost. He said everything you were taught was wrong. Everything that you believed was wrong. And I took that to mean things about politics, power, reciprocal relationships, what love is, what a lack of love is, all of these things. Over 5 years since we had that conversation, I believe he's really right. But I don't know why some people are different there. So I'll leave that there and let you pick it up.
You don't have a victim.
Because this describes. I'm sorry. I know I use a lot of my own stories. I know it's a little narcissistic. I get it.
No, that's.
But also, I know from talking to people that there are a lot of people in the audience who are also having these kind of conversations with themselves, who have parents like you and I did.
I struggle with all the same things that you talked about, Josh. And the difference is you are not a victim. You don't have a victim mindset. You don't blame everything else everything wrong with you on everybody else. That's what the victim mindset is. And I truly believe, unless somebody else can present a case, to convince me. I truly believe that's the very core of cluster B spectrum. I mean, truly the very core. When you think you're a victim, then everything else is excuse. For example, you're opining about being quick to anger. I am quick to anger as well. A victim mindset would be, well, I because I'm a victim, it's okay that I'm quick to anger. Of course I'm quick to anger because I'm a victim, right? So you don't seek to change, you're not seeking to change that. But when you have a victor mindset, you're like, okay, this is an issue I need to work with. Why am I so quick to anger? What's behind that? And I'm very much, I try to work on it, but I suffered from very thin skin for a long, long time. I was very sensitive to criticism, very sensitive. And criticism that's not an attack. Criticism is not an attack on people. If you're loved and you're speaking to someone who loves you, criticism is a way to sharpen iron. It's a way to make you better. I guess maybe some people don't like the way it's presented. And I think I'm not always the most loving in the way that I present criticism to other people. And I'm not that great at receiving criticism either. But if it's from someone I love, usually I bristle at first, and then I think about it. And then I think about it, and then I come back and I say, you know what? You were actually right. I'm sorry for my reaction. And apologizing is such a big thing in a rightly ordered person. So I always see things as disordered or rightly ordered. And a rightly ordered person, when they're wrong, they will apologize. And
yes.
And I know it's really hard for people to apologize, but get into the habit of admitting when you're wrong and just say, I'm sorry. People will forgive you when you say, I'm sorry.
But also, yes. But if I could add on to that, and this is a reminder to myself as much as it is to other people, sorry is the first step, but the second step is actually, and this happens inside your head. It's a commitment to yourself, or maybe a commitment between you and God. You have to tell yourself, okay, you're sorry, but you do have to try not to do it again. Correct. You do have to try to be a little bit better next time.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is so true. Yeah, but that's when you know if it's a genuine sorry or not.
This comes down, so much of this comes down to whether we believe these are trust issues.
Yes.
Let me expand this out a little bit. And I hear my friend Holly reminding me, as she is right to do, that so much of the interaction that I'm thinking about and talking about happens on social media, which is a disordered place.
Yes, it is.
And there's no reason for us to trust people that we call our, quote, friends on Facebook and other things, because they're not really our friends if we've never met them and shaken their hand and had a meal with them. The normal structures and components that make human relationships are missing from these contexts. I'm never more irritable, defensive, snappish, and mean than when I'm on social media and I perceive that I'm being attacked or manipulated. And I don't mean, I want to underline this, I don't mean simply disagreed with. To a lot of people, it can look like an intolerance of disagreement. I don't think it is. For me, I'm always thinking 2 steps ahead, especially when I'm on social media or when I'm in a conversation where we're talking about these hot political and cultural issues. There's so much manipulation. It is everywhere. We are in a cluster B society that I'm always thinking 2 steps ahead. And I do engage in mind reading. I prefer to call it pattern recognition.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
But I'm always thinking, what is he actually saying? Right? And yes, you can go very wrong with this. You can go very wrong. And I do sometimes go wrong. But I think I go right more than I go wrong, because I've been around long enough that I'm a pretty good pattern detector.
Yeah.
Most of the time, when I think somebody is winding up, they're using nice words. But what they're winding up to do, they're trying to set up a scenario where they can come in and then sting and undercut. I'm usually right when I detect that. But I know
Yes.
that some people witness these interactions and think, Josh just can't tolerate anyone disagreeing with him ever. And I'm like, no, it's not disagreement. She's trying to, she's going to, and then she does it, right?
I see it, Josh. I see it.
Do you see it too?
I do. I see it. I'm on the same page with you. I'm also a big pattern recognizer. I call it my superpower. If you follow me on X, yes, it is. And when you grow up in abuse like we have, you are forced to be hyper vigilant as a child, and you're forced to recognize patterns as a way of self-preservation.
Yes.
And it never leaves you.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to acknowledge a couple of people. I'm sorry, folks. I got my eyes on so many different screens, and my comments on my interface are not updating for me. So if you've done a Rumble rant and stuff, it's I'm sorry. I'm not overlooking you deliberately. CB 75075. Thank you very much. You got a couple of paid chats. I appreciate that. CB says, is it victimhood or is it being narcissistic and victimhood gets you attention? Yep. Those are two different things. We need to discern them. And
that's true.
Here's an interesting one from CB as well. He says, I think Sheldon Cooper from the show The Big Bang Theory was a cluster B. He manipulates everyone around him and plays the autistic victim. He sets everyone up to service him. Ooh, I like that.
I like that too.
That ties right into our recent conversation on this show about cluster Bs are now masquerading as autists. They used to all be manic depressives and bipolar, but today they're ADHD. I am a complete festering cunt because I have an attention and distraction problem.
I'm neurodivergent.
Well, can you reverge yourself, please? But I want to finish up something about the conversation about trust. Be interested in actually, I'm interested in what any of you have to say, what Sherry has to say. If you as an audience member can have something to say about this personally, please share it in the chat. I act very differently in challenging and difficult conversations when I trust people or when I'm in an environment where I do not trust them. So I'm almost, I give no quarter almost at all in social media because I just keep the armor up, and I'm willing to lose some people to my error rate because my hit rate is pretty high. It's not the best thing in the world, but I have to confess I don't lose sleep over it. But there was a couple of years ago in the Discord. By the way, if you want to have chats like this with other people in a place that is social media, but 95% less of the nonsense, become a supporting member of the show. A subscriber either monthly on subscribestar.com/disaffected or at disaffectedpod.substack.com. Everyone who donates monthly, even if it's just $5, very grateful to have it. But you get an invitation to our private members only Discord. And that is, I mean, frankly, the paywall is a winnowing filter. You get higher quality people when they have to pay for it, even if it's just a little bit of money. So that does you good. It does me good too.
Yeah.
And thank you. But there was a time a couple of years ago when I really got into it with somebody on our Discord. This is unusual. It doesn't happen very often, but I think we both behaved quite badly. I do think the person that I got into it with was using cluster B tactics pretty hardcore, but unfortunately I did too.
Yeah.
I got very egotistical and I got really mean. And then I started getting high on my own supply. And I created a really unpleasant atmosphere in the chat room over this. One of the members, who is still a member, and if she recognizes herself in this, I have never forgotten this, and I want you to know that I appreciate it still. She privately messaged me, and I don't remember exactly how she said it, but her tone was exactly perfect. It wasn't pleading and fawning, but it wasn't dictatorial and accusatory either. It was just plain. And she said something like, I'm saying this to you in friendship. And I'm somebody who sometimes has some cluster B traits that express themselves. And I think you're in yours right now.
Oh.
And I understand it. I know where it comes from, but you're contributing to this. And, you know, I can't, I'm not going to try to reconstruct it, but it was offered in absolute good faith.
Okay.
And I will confess that my stomach clenched up. I felt so humiliated and so embarrassed. That's okay. That was salutary. That was a correct and appropriate emotional response, because I was wrong. And that was a gift to me that this person gave me. This was an honest mirror from somebody who meant well and wanted to see me do better and was not saying, I'm going to throw you out of my life. I trusted in that environment. I was able to hear it. And I'm still there's a reason I remember it. You know, it was a really positive interaction, even though it hurt like hell at the moment. So I see trust that way. Let me shut up. What do you think about the trust issue?
Trust, I think we've had this conversation privately. Trust is very difficult for me as well. And I can read people a mile away really quickly. And I have also a high degree of accuracy. I also have almost zero tolerance for nonsense. So, I will always try to give someone the benefit of the doubt. And I do this on X as well. I will give you basically 2 posts to show me who you are. And then we're done. If I see where it's going, and usually I do, I'm like, okay, this is just another time waster. I call them demon bots. Some of them are actually bots. Cluster B bots. That is a thing on X, by the way, people. Don't get fooled by them. So yeah, I do have trust issues, but also I don't want to be so untrusting that I'm missing out on the abundance of potential relationships. I want to stay open to new friendships. And I do understand I'm not perfect. Other people aren't perfect. But, like you just did, Josh, if you're willing to recognize your own faults and failures, that is a level of humility. And I look for humility in potential friends. If you have enough self-awareness to understand, okay, well, I might have come off too harsh in this way. Like, you're just acknowledging that you're human. And I have so much grace for that. God has grace for that. So
I wonder if this will resonate for some other people listening who may have grown up the way that you and I did. Humans generally, personality disordered, non-personality disordered, we construct defensive structures. I know the term defense mechanisms is so beaten about that I don't think people really remember its actual meaning anymore, but it does mean what it says. These are structures and methods of thinking and relating that we build for ourselves to defend ourselves against what we perceive as harm.
Yes.
Or somebody who's going, or in our case, like for Sherry or me, or for any of you listening who had parents like we did, this is self-defense for survival. It's self-defense against psychological and spiritual annihilation. And I mean annihilation. I wouldn't have used that word, but my own therapist did. There was one day he actually shocked me when I was relating some stories of my mother's relating to me and to my sister. And he said, unprompted, I wasn't trying to make a victim story, but he said, well, of course you reacted that way. You spent your childhood, your mother tried to annihilate you.
Yeah.
She actually tried to annihilate you. And I thought I was going too far to think along those terms, but somebody outside me saw it. So that was really welcome.
Well, I just want to say this comment towards your work, Josh, and towards one of my own personal goals. Sometimes I don't think you go far enough.
That's something I almost never hear, because I go pretty far.
You go pretty far, and so do I. But it's like, when are people going to get it? Like, I know
you see that frustration too, because I watch you. I mean, we see each other on social media, and Sherry, so often when I see your reaction and I'm like, that's exactly what I would have said. I know exactly what she's thinking. I know why she said that.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing about defensive structures, this is really common in, am I sorry to say? Probably not. This is common in gay men from abusive homes. And yeah, as you all know, I think that most gay men do come from at least dysfunctional homes. Not all, but yeah, most. We create a narcissistic self, a false self for the world. Now, all people can create false selves. When I say narcissistic, I don't necessarily mean personality disorder, because remember, every human has a level of narcissism.
Yes.
There is a baseline level of necessary narcissism. We call that survival instinct.
Yeah.
Like, you know, your reactions to stop somebody from killing you are, quote, narcissistic. They're all about protecting the self, but they are necessary. So there is a level of it that is not neurotic and negative. We create narcissistic defenses, but those of us who come from really fraught childhoods where we are at danger of being annihilated, many gay men like me have created personas that deflect emotional arrows. So for me, I mean, particularly when I was young and pretty, I put a lot too much stock into my sex appeal, and it led to a lot of promiscuity. You know, I could get my ego salved because it was easy for me to pull men, right? Very common in gay men, but also I wanted to be seen as the funniest, wittiest, sharpest, most eloquent person possible. And yeah, that obviously still lives inside me, right? But I think it's less brittle than it was when I was 25 or 30 years old. It's very difficult if any of you listening, have created a false self or a kind of shell and a presentation. In many ways, it can serve you very well. It can give you success, social success. It can give you financial success for a time. But if you do not temper it, if you do not begin to turn it off more and begin to soften it a little bit, it becomes a prison. And then you start acting the way your mom acted to you, your dad acted to you. Does this resonate for you at all, Sherry?
Well, it does, because I have a little bit of different term for it, but it's the same concept: false identities. We are inundated, and we have other people trying to put labels on us now. Labels and false identities in this explanation are interchangeable. Okay, so I think gay is a false identity, and honestly, I think, do too. I think woman, as in the feminist woman, is a false identity. I agree. And yeah, we have in our society, we're putting on these hats because look, the reason why I think gay is a false identity is because who you have sex with is not who you are. Is that what you want to be seen as? Is just a sex object your whole life? Is that it? Like that is so shallow. No, you are a whole complete person. You're super smart. You're super funny. And those are deeper aspects of you. I'm an active anti-feminist.
Yes.
And I don't even make a secret about it at all. I am so disgusted by the behavior of women. I am so disgusted by how much women are getting away with today. I'm so disgusted by the lack of respect for men and just for fellow human beings, for children. I mean, feminism is a cluster B.
Yes.
And it's killing us all. Like,
as is the gay male identity.
Yeah. It's these false identities are destroying us. The true identity, and I know many people aren't going to agree, and that's fine, but I really believe our true identity is child of God. That's our true identity. And we were born into this world. I call it the beast system because according to the Bible, Satan is the prince of this world. He runs things. And what we're seeing rise up right now, all of the we're seeing pagan worship rise up. We're gonna see the sacrificial system rise up of the Old Testament. All of that was
Many have argued that we already have.
Yeah, we're already there. I mean, we're going to be seeing a lot more of it. But that's the way, what we're heading into, this darkness, this selfishness, this authoritarianism, this is the way of the world. Christendom staved off this and gave us this protective bubble for centuries, and we're losing that. But
Yes.
we are going back to what? We're going back to what is normal for the world. And people don't understand this. And false identities are a part of this. Cluster B behavior is a part of this. The definition of Satanism is worship of self, and that's what people are doing.
Oh, thank you. This is why, audience, if you think about these things for yourself, when I talk about them, or you wonder why I keep coming back to the overlap between Christianity and the way I think about cluster B, it's because of this. It's because I see these points of contact everywhere now. And sometimes there's so much overlap that it doesn't even look like overlap. It's the same thing.
Yes.
And I would call myself a Christian if it would be a lie for me to call myself a Christian, because I cannot in good faith say that I believe that there is a God and that Jesus was born of a virgin. Maybe I should believe that, but the fact is that I don't.
Yet.
Yeah. Well, and I leave all this room out here. I do. I leave all this room out here for yet that I never left before.
I know.
But here's what I am confident of. There's something, after all of this experience of being a leftist, being a communist, being a promiscuous gay man, and doing all the, and yes, I know the zeal of the convert and the former addict. I know, I have it too. I get it. But I think, guys, I spend so much time thinking about this. When I'm not sitting here in front of a camera, I'm thinking about it when I do the dishes, when I mow the lawn, when I'm paying the bills. I ruminate on this stuff. I write about it to myself. And it's constantly in my mind. I cannot help but the things that I am more and more confident are true things about the world and true things about our obligations to ourselves and each other just sound exactly like what Christianity says. I do think, if I wouldn't say child of God because I'd be pretending to be something else, but I do think as humans, we have a calling. There is such a thing as right and wrong. There is such a thing as good and evil. We do know it inside ourselves. We can quiet that voice. We can distort it. We can listen to another voice. But it is real. I really believe it's real. And I don't know where I'm going with this.
Well, Christianity is a lens, if you want to look at it that way, Josh. Like, whether you have internalized it and you believe, okay, I do believe that Mary was a virgin. Like, it's a way to look at the world. And the way that it gives you to look at the world is the one that makes the most sense. It's the most ordered. It gives the best outcomes. So you don't even have to really believe in God to reap the benefits of what the Bible teaches us. It's a roadmap on how to live your life so that you hurt yourself the least, you hurt your children the least, and it's not, we're humans and we always make mistakes, but as long as we can recognize that we've made mistakes and apologize for them and try to do better. Christians get a lot of flack for you're hypocrites and all this other stuff, and I'm very sympathetic to those accusations. People don't really, I think, honestly, people don't understand what true Christianity is. I really do. I think there's so much fake Christianity out there. And what I know about Satan is he's an infiltrator. He's not a creator. So if you think of God as the creator and Satan as the destroyer, God creates new life. God creates beauty. God creates love. And Satan comes in and he infiltrates and he destroys. And I have been watching him infiltrate Christianity on every single level my whole life. And we have been propagandized our whole life. So you and we're pretty much the same age, Josh. And I've been a Christian since I was young. I have watched my whole life Christians being made fun of in Hollywood,
Yes.
Now social
Yes.
media, and
Our whole lives.
our whole lives, Christianity has been made fun of, and we've been painted as a certain way. And those ways that we're painted are very extreme examples. I'm not saying that those Christians don't exist, or people who call themselves Christians don't exist. They do. Also, this is a side note, but I have studied a lot of Satanism. The Bible talks about Satan a lot. So that's why everyone's like, oh, those crazy Christians and their thing on Satanism. But the thing is it's a lens to see the world. And I think you are understanding that the way that what you're seeing, because you're an honest person, does line up with a lot of the stuff that the Bible says. So if you want to just take time and read the Bible, you'll get a lot of understanding and wisdom from it. It's the best system I've found. And I've studied world religions. I've gone through all of that. And it's just the best for me to understand the way things work and the best outcomes for people.
There are two things that you said a minute ago that I want to highlight. You talked about Christendom.
Yes.
And this is something that took me a very long time to understand. And I think I've come to understand it more completely in the past 2 years. All of us, all of you listening to me who live in the Western world, we have what we have because of Christendom.
That's right.
It is not just because the founding fathers wrote the Constitution. Yes. It's not. This stretches way farther back than that. Mm-hmm. You know, one of my interests is the late medieval, early modern period in England, the Plantagenets through the Tudor court and the Stuart court. Read voraciously, taken a lot of content about that, biographical, fiction, straight history, dramatizations. The Western world in those days, the New World was just getting started. So it was mostly Western Europe, but they talked about Christendom and the Moors, the Muslims, right? Yep. You know, the Crusades were not a violent colonial act. They were an act of self-defense.
Yes. Because
Islam is a psychopathic religion. Yes. It is a conquering, dominating, psychopathic religion. It is not on a moral plane with Christianity. I'm sorry, Christianity is superior, whether you believe it or not.
I'm glad you see that.
There is great evil in this. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that every Muslim person is evil, but I am saying that everyone who believes it is fully deceived. Yep, yes. I'm saying it.
Yep. That's fair.
And in fact, the Enlightenment came out of Christendom as mm-hmm. well. It fought with it. It was part of it. It had a complicated relationship. But everything that we have has roots in the Christianization of the West. It brought, good or bad, whether you like it or not, if we want what we have or some form, hopefully a better form than what we've devolved into, we cannot ignore that. And getting rid of Christianity or mocking Christians, it's not just, people say this, and I would have said this. I was a new atheist, for God's sake. I actually met Richard Dawkins and staffed a table for him at a conference selling his books.
Oh, okay? That guy.
I am that guy, okay? I reject all of that. I'm sorry, but you know, the questions that Sam Harris brought up in The End of Faith are real questions that deserve answers and that are difficult. And I still wrestle with some of them too. So it isn't all shit.
Yeah.
But the direction that it went in and the certainty that I shared, and oh God, did I believe I was right. I really believed I was right. And now I don't think I was.
Can I ask you because I'm always interested in this because I spar with atheists all the time. Okay. They always like to pretend that it's Christians who are oppressing them. But in my experience and my life, it has been them oppressing us. I got kicked out of my 9th grade science class, Josh, for asking where the half man, half ape skeletons were.
Okay. There's I get it. Full disclosure, one of my big bugbears with a lot of Christians is their refusal. I believe it's a refusal to understand what evolution really says because it's not what a lot of them think it is. But that's neither here nor there. But you are correct. This is a reversal. It's projection and reversal. Even the new atheists who believe that they're being oppressed by Christianity, as I believed I was, Many atheists still say this, or people who wouldn't call themselves atheists, but they say I'm non-committed, I'm agnostic, but I don't like this Christian dominionism. We haven't had Christian dominionism in living memory. First of all, that just isn't real. No. Okay, it's not living under your bed. You can't show me on the doll because it never touched you. The hysterical claims that you're trying to indoctrinate our children. No, you are.
Yes, they
you
are
the one who is trying to indoctrinate children to believe that they can be a different sex than they are, that they can, that any child can be anything they want, if they can be president or an astronaut or anything. Everyone is exactly the same. This is the indoctrination, and it is enforced by the state. It is enforced by the arms of the state. It is informed by our culture industries. It is enforced by academia.
Yes.
The very existence, the most mild, humble, non-aggressive question that proposes a godlike view or a Christian view is immediately attacked by smart people.
Yes, that's all that ticks me off.
Asking the question is called an act of Christian colonialism and aggression. This is exactly the same. This is why I say all is cluster B. All is narcissism. All is Satanism, if you want. Satan is the original cluster B.
I'm going to call it. Yes, he is. And I'm still working. I am working on an essay called Satan is a Cluster B. With everything that you said, I'm just going to label it anti-God, because it is a rebellion towards God. It's a hatred towards God.
And, let me get there. And I want to get this out.
Okay.
Narcissism is, you said, what did you say a minute ago, Sherry? You said, I can't remember what it was, but this is connected. Narcissism isn't just a refusal to humble yourself before the good or before God or before what is right and righteous. It is those things, but it isn't just that. It goes farther than that. It's a form of auto-idolatry.
Yeah, it's
here's what I mean. It's self-worship.
Yeah. Yes.
And I have said many times in this phrase, my mother is an example. Your mother is an example. Yes. All cluster Bs are to some degree an example, but it was particularly noticeable in my mother because as a kid, I was very curious about the Bible and Christianity. And my mother actively discouraged this. I was only baptized in the Presbyterian church at my grandmother's insistence and over my mother's protestations. There were several incidents when I was a child when I would express wonder about something and connect it to something in God, and my mother would mock me for it.
Yeah.
With that voice that says, you're stupid and unsophisticated, right?
Yes.
I adopted some of that, but I have described my mother, and I believe this is accurate. She created herself God in her own image and then worshiped herself and demanded that her children and everyone around her worship her. And when she raged, as she so often did, it was because people refused to worship her and she believed she was entitled to be worshiped.
Yes. Yes. Bingo. Oh, I just love how you just see it. It's so refreshing to talk to somebody else who sees the same things and the same patterns, because it's so rare. It's so many people are just still living under this delusion. And I think a lot of people are just afraid, really, to face the truth because of the implications.
Yes, the implications are scary. They're scary cosmologically. I mean, all humans, we all think about where are we going after death? What this stuff has vexed humans.
Yeah.
Forever. The ancients wrote about it, pre-Christianity, the early Christians, everybody has written about this. I'm not going to figure this out. Brilliant theologians and philosophers didn't figure this out. I'm not going to be the one to figure it out. But it is a common human thread. Yeah. And we can be scared that when we die, our consciousness just goes away. I'm scared that my consciousness just goes away. It terrifies me to think of being annihilated into nothingness. And then even though I'm not a full believer, there is definitely a core part of me that is worried I'm going to hell. That worries me too. So I give you contradiction. I cannot resolve contradiction. But
that's part of it. But like I said before, and I want to add back in, and I encourage the listeners and anybody who watches this or listens to it in the future to just really start thinking about our spirit, the spiritual side of us, because that is something that I feel like Satan, the enemy, the prince of this world, has been trying to destroy that side of us. Just going back to atheism real quick, the number one thing that atheists do is call me uneducated. I am so stupid and I am so uneducated. I don't know anything. And I usually, I'm not a person that goes around and brags about credentials and things like that. It's not important to me. However, I am highly educated and I do due diligence, and any topic that I choose to speak on, I spend a lot of time researching it. I don't just talk out my butt on whatever I'm talking on. You can trust that I have done my due diligence in researching it. And that doesn't mean I'm perfect and I'm always willing to have conversations. But the last thing I am is uneducated.
Right. Well, there's an unspoken baseline assumption in our culture that undergirds this. We never speak it out loud. So I'm going to speak it out loud right now, because I used to have this assumption explicitly, that by definition, if you believe in a God or wrestle with this, you are by definition uneducated and ignorant.
Yep.
That's a precondition. It's loaded dice,
yes.
Right? It's
loaded
dice that we don't recognize as loaded dice.
Yep.
So what I urge everyone, I don't care whether you become a believer in any particular religion or not, but please recognize the falsity of this, because it blinded me for most of my adult life. That was just a baseline. And you know what that was? It was egotism. Yeah. It was egotism.
Well, it's easy
and I understand
to dehumanize. It's super easy to dehumanize people and groups of people. And honestly, atheism is a collectivist ideology. And I'm against collectivism in every single form. Okay, I really do believe in individualism. I believe Jesus believes in individualism. Because it is, like I said earlier, it is a personal relationship. And the only way to change people, so the beast system, the satanic system, is always governance from the top down, always, because we're all too stupid.
It's communist.
And we're all children.
It's fascist.
But Christianity is from the individual up. It starts in our hearts. It starts with us being accountable to ourselves, accountable to our family, accountable to those around us. It is the choices that we make. This is why, and you talk about reversals all the time, and this is what we're in. This is exactly what's happening. Christendom had it right with changing people from the bottom up, because if you yourself are holding yourself accountable, and you have a moral code that's not the code that you made up yourself, but is a code that is given by God, and you follow it, you're going to change. You're going to change yourself, and you're going to change everyone around you. And that's the only way we're going to get out of this mess that we're in the Western world. Every individual person has to start taking responsibility, has to start speaking out. We have to start solidifying our boundaries against all of this cluster B nonsense that's going on. We have to say things. And, when you see it, say something. And this was me. We had a little interchange. You made a post about, I think it was some tape over, it was COVID, and it was some ridiculous COVID thing that we went through that was just insanity. And it was such a hard time for me, because I could not keep my mouth shut, and I cannot abide lies. So I was the person everywhere we went, like, wow, this is really stupid. I can't believe people are doing this. Like, really, that was me.
Yeah,
I couldn't start speaking more.
It was horrifying. It was absolutely horrifying to recognize how many people were untrustworthy.
I couldn't believe how many people were just going along with it to not make waves. That is our problem. And I think the whole Western world has been neutered in the way that, just don't make waves. This is how cluster Bs get away with all of their crap too, is because, we're just gonna just do what's easy. Do the easy route, placate them, pacify them, and it'll all go away. We have to stop doing that.
Yeah, we do have to stop doing that. And that's why I do this show. That's why I talk about things I do. I talk to people like you who are doing the same thing in your own spheres. And I know a lot of people's eyes were opened by what they saw during COVID, but it remains to be seen whether enough people's eyes were opened. I do not know. For example, if the government were to pull another COVID tomorrow, we already know that all the Western governments are connected with each other and do follow the same script. Whoever the player is at the top, I'm not exactly certain. I mean, there are things like the World Economic Forum and all that stuff. I don't know who the puppeteer is, or if the puppeteer changes places, but we do know it's all coordinated.
Yes.
So we know that they can do it. Sherry, I don't know if they pulled another COVID, if we would pass that test, or if we do what we did again and lose it all. What do you think?
Well, Josh, I think about this a lot. And they've tried it a couple times. They tried it with the monkeypox thing, and then they tried it recently with the hantavirus thing. And so it gave me a little bit of encouragement to see that those things went away really quick.
They did. I just wonder if it's that they wore the brand out, and if they come at us from another angle, if it's not a physical illness, if it's something different.
There's some speculation that it's going to be the alien psyop. That's some speculation. There's been some speculation about shutting down the internet completely, which honestly, I think that would actually help.
Actually, that might be just what we need.
It might be what we need, because people would be forced to go out and interact with one another. And then they would see, oh, wow, you're not as evil as so-and-so has been telling me you are, those kinds of things. I don't know, Josh. This is a hard one. I think about it a lot. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I'm just going to say it. I don't think Trump is going to save us. And I have a lot of reasons. Yeah, I have a lot of reasons to believe that. Nothing has changed. We're still, if you know the World Economic Forum goals, we are still right on that same path.
I think no one man is going to save us. No one woman is going to save us.
And it's not going to be government who saves us. People have to give up this idea. Our government is compromised. Okay.
I think that, yes, it is. And I think the best that we can do, if we make the best use of what's in front of us, the election of Trump in 24 bought us some breathing room and gave us a little bit of space that we could start making our own offensive moves in. And I think that's the problem. That's one of the problems, that we're not on the offense enough. I don't think we are nearly hard enough as the United States and the West. For example, by now, I would have expected that we could have deported tens of millions of illegal aliens. We, to my knowledge, we have not deported tens of millions of them.
We haven't.
And I now worry that we never will,
that
it's permanent now. If we don't seize these opportunities when we get, whether you like Trump, love Trump, he disappointed you, is doing about whatever. The point is, no one man can save us.
It's up to us.
We can take advantage of the space he's made for a 4-year term to get ourselves out of our fetters and go out there and do it. I don't think we're doing enough of that.
Well, I will say, Josh, that courage begets courage. I really do believe this. And part of this, we haven't totally finished with the no contact stuff. We've kind of gone on to other things, but it's all been great.
So.
I want to give people courage to set their boundaries and be like, this is what I'm going to accept. This is what I'm not going to accept. I am not going to accept my government telling me that I have no parental control over my child anymore. There's boundaries, and we as individuals have to keep pushing back on these boundaries, even with the threat of having your children taken away or being put in jail. I mean, it's just so ridiculous and so obvious to me what is going on if anybody has ever read any communist history, it just amazes me how we've gotten this far.
Well, nobody does read communist history. We don't get it. You know, I didn't understand how evil communism was until starting 10 years ago, because it's just not featured in the American public school system. Everything is Hitler and slavery, Hitler and slavery,
Yep.
Hitler and slavery.
Yes. Which oddly, we're going back into a fascist system, and it's an enslavement system.
Yeah, exactly. Folks, I have this up on the screen for a reason. I would love to have your support for Disaffected. This is how we make it. And this is part of how I make my living and how my partner, Kevin, makes his living. If you would like to support us, you don't want to do a subscription. If you do want to do a subscription, starts out at $5 a month. We really appreciate it. It gets you into our private Discord. Again, there's 2 ways to do it. Subscribestar.com/disaffected. You get the same content posted there that I post on Substack, or substack.com, disaffectedpod.substack.com. But if you don't want to commit monthly, I get it with the subscription fatigue. Give us a one-off, if you'd please. Buy me a coffee. It all adds up. All you have to do is go to coffee.com/disaffected. That's spelled ko-fi.com/disaffected. And everybody who does a one-off, whether you do it through our website or you get a personal, not a template, I write back to you and say thank you. So we really do appreciate it, and we would love to have your support. Sherry, we're going to wrap this. I could go on for hours and hours because you are very good conversation, and our audience is good conversation too. This is why I love these streams. I want to give you the last word, and you can wrap this up on no contact psychopathy any way you want.
Okay. Well, if it's okay with you, if I read another bit, I wanted to talk about, because I think one of the biggest pushbacks that Christians will have with going no contact is the honoring your parents. So I did write up a little thing, if that's okay that I read it. It's shorter than the last one, but I'm going to go ahead and start. Exodus 20:12 is where the commandment is that it says, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long, and the land of the Lord your God is giving you, in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. This was not a suggestion for ancient Israel. This was the 5th commandment written by the finger of God on tablets of stone. It stood at the heart of the covenant of his people. To honor father and mother was to honor the God who established the family as the first and foundational institution of society. The Jews understood this as a sacred duty, a command that carried both promise and weighty responsibility. But what does honor mean when the parent is wicked? When the one who should protect becomes the predator. When the father or mother is a worker of iniquity who harms their own flesh and blood. The scripture does not leave us without light. First, understand what honor is. It is recognizing the God-given authority and role. It's not worship. It's not blind obedience to evil. It's not pretending that darkness is light. Psalms 27:10 gives hope to the abused. For my father and my mother have forsaken me, but the Lord will take me in. If we allow him, our God himself steps in when our earthly parents fail catastrophically. Ephesians 6:1-3 repeats the command for the New Testament believers. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. Notice the qualifier, in the Lord. So we're talking about parents who are already rightly ordered, okay? Obedience has boundaries. Colossians 3:20 says the same, but immediately after in verse 21, fathers are commanded. Fathers, do not provoke your children lest they become discouraged. So God is also speaking to parents on how they're supposed to raise their children. They're not supposed to be mean and authoritarian and cluster B. God holds parents accountable. A parent who destroys their child is in open rebellion against the Creator. When a parent is truly evil, practicing abuse, violence, sexual sin, or leading their children into idolatry and destruction, honor does not mean staying in the abuse cycle. It does not mean subjecting God's image bearers to ongoing harm. The Lord Jesus himself told us in Matthew 10:34-37 that allegiance to him can divide even the closest family ties. Whoever loves whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Practical honor in the shadow of evil looks like this. It means you do not mock or slander them publicly in any way that dishonors the position of the parent. So I want people to understand that honoring your mom and dad is honoring the position, the godly position that they hold over you, okay? It does not mean staying in abuse.
Respect the office, not necessarily the office holder.
Yes, and so that is an important distinction that I've never heard any church tell me. And it means you refuse to repeat their sins, you break generational strongholds by the power of the gospel, and you pursue holiness. It means you protect the innocent. If children are being harmed, you get them to safety.
Thank you. That is an answer to that glib response that we get from so many people. You're not honoring your father and mother. Sherry, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for having it with me.
Josh, thank you so much.
And I would like to publish. You can put it into essay form that says it the way you want to say it. But I'd love to have this as a post on my Substack.
Done.
So thank you for spending yet more time with me. Audience, thank you for your great comments, your interaction, and hopefully your support. Buy me a coffee. This has been Disaffected's live stream on July 15th, 2026. We will see you this coming Sunday. We're going to have a great show for you this Sunday. We're going to go through the conspiracy theories, wild, psychopathic conspiracy theories that have cropped up in the Black commentary community around the Carmelo Anthony conviction for the Austin Metcalf stabbing. If you think you've seen what's going on out there, you haven't seen this. So tune in this coming Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern time, and we will see you next week again on Wednesday. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, Josh.